Our call to worship this morning is from Sharon Wiley, Wholeness. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you, beautiful just the way you are. Here you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here, nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or the children or to anyone. You don't have to try to be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you, beautiful, just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful just the way they are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you, different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. We light our chalice in the spirit of transformation. Nothing stays the same. Everything moving, shifting, changing. Guide everything moving, shifting, changing. Guide us all to a wild and holy vision of our shared humanity.
Our pulpit guest today, is Dr. Mary Lamb Shelden, who is a lifelong second-generation UU, a writer, a certified religious educator, a skilled facilitator and consultant, and a newly credentialed spiritual director, certified and commissioned just this past May at Meadville Lombard. She is also, of course, a former director here of religious education. Please help me welcome Mary. My name is Ellen Vinzani. The pronouns I use are she and her. Our church shares a covenant that we make with one another, a promise that helps to remind us of why we gather and how we want to be with one another. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our covenant together. We unite to strengthen the bonds of kinship among all persons, to promote human dignity, and to increase reverence for life's sustaining and transforming power through worship, study, and service.
Please join us in singing hymn number 348, Guide My Feet.
Guide my feet as I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Hold my hand. From this race, hold my hand while on this race. Hold my hand while I run this race, for I don't want to run this race in vain.
Stand by me.
Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race, for I don't want to run this race in vain.
Search my heart.
Search my heart, I run this race. Search my heart, I run this race. Search my heart, I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
The message for all ages, which seems to be all adult today, but is called The Most Magnificent Thing. And it's by, there's some children. Great. Just make you sit where you can see the screen. Too. And it's by Ashley Spires. Our story today is titled The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. There are a few times when you will need to fill in the word magnificent. So let's try it. Magnificent. Good. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things, he unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most nice thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it. And she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up, gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or even good. It isn't even sort of okay. It is all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try yet again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes and straightens and studies. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. She gives it antennae. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese. But none of them are what she wants, and that is her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing she has in mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch. The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain, and she explodes. It is not her finest moment. I'm no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first, but before long, she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel to seat ratio of the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. This is the perfect thing to ward off bears. This will stop that leak. This one's all wet. The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left. It's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most thing.
Half of today's offering will be donated to the Palatine Temporary Assistance Fund, which provides one night's lodging to homeless clients at the Bel Air Motel here in Palatine. This year, the fund has seen a large increase in the number of homeless clients needing help. At a recent Faith in Action community meeting, Beth Neighbors from Journeys shared some distressing information on the state of homelessness in our area. There are no summer pads sites operating this year due to lack of volunteers and locations. And more homeless deaths occur during the summer than in winter. The government program for housing families in hotels has ended, so homeless families need to find other places to live. The housing at Journeys Day Center is currently only open Monday through Friday due to lack of volunteers. So Journeys has been referring clients to utilize the temporary assistant fund when they don't have space available. So far this year, the fund has spent $1,710 in lodging at $90 a night. The fund is now empty and needs to be replenished. Prince of Peace Lutheran Church in Palatine here is contributing $1,000 to keep up the fund afloat for now, but they need additional donations to keep it going. The need is great. The need is now. Please give generously to help our homeless families.
Let's take just the span of 3 deep breaths to quiet our spirits. Spirit of love and life, by whatever name we call you and beyond all naming, be with us and among us. Help us attend to the inner urgings of our hearts, guiding us toward our best next steps. Help us to know how to bring our best gifts to each challenge we encounter. Help us learn to make space and time to listen for your good guidance within us. Amen.
This is the time when we recognize joys and concerns within our congregation. If you have anything to share, please use the form on our website under Connecting Pastoral Care tab. You can also find it in the weekly e-news, or call Reverend Pam or anyone on the lay ministry team, or simply leave a message with the office. We send our love and healing wishes to Cindy Thornton's mom, who is struggling with health concerns. David Ciccarelli is having 6 teeth pulled this week. Wishing you a speedy recovery, David. Baby announcements. Stacy Pankratz and Renee Ao welcomed their son, Arden, on July the 10th, just 10 days ago. All are well, although undoubtedly very sleep deprived. We share your joy. Mike Calwis has a new grandson, Rowan, born 4 weeks early, but strong and healthy. Many congratulations. Helen Moore's 3 great-grandchildren, we have each generation involved here, are coming to visit from California. This is Helen's first chance to meet the baby. Also very exciting. And our wonderful music director, Allison, had a birthday just a couple days ago. We hope you had a joyful celebration. For all those intentions, happy and concerning, which remain in the secret sanctuary of our hearts, know that you are held and loved. Please join me in singing our beloved Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the land, giving light, shade of justice. Whose glory goes, grace and freedom. Spirit of life, come to me. Our reading this morning is an excerpt from Wolfpack by Abby Wambach. She includes a note. I identify as a woman, so what I present here is from a woman's point of view. The leadership ideas, though, are universal. Recently, on a call with a company hiring me to teach about leadership, a man said, "Excuse me, Abby, I just need to ensure that what you present is applicable to men too." Good question, I said, but only if you've asked every male speaker you've ever hired if his message was applicable to women too. Women have had to find themselves within content presented from a male perspective forever. It's essential to flip this and allow men the opportunity to find themselves within content from a woman's perspective. Here I've used words like women, men, girls, boys. These are not my favorite words, as I've always understood gender, even my own, to be on a wide, beautiful spectrum. My dream is that people of every gender, as well as people between or beyond gender, will find themselves in this work. My hope is that this work becomes a leap forward for humankind. Thus ends the reading.
Thank you, Ellen. Good morning, good UUs. And to all our friends and visitors, good morning. My name is Mary Shelden, she, her. I am an elder white woman with graying brown hair, and I'm wearing a floral dress and a pendant with a turtle in honor of my mother this morning. And I am very glad to be back here at Countryside. It's been a long time since I stood before you. 2.5 years now since I stood in this pulpit. In that time, I've been teaching philosophy and history courses for UU religious educators and writing classes at Aurora University. Also, this past May, I was commissioned and credentialed as a spiritual director through Meadville Lombard's Leadership Institute. And if you want to learn more about what spiritual direction is, talk to me at coffee hour. I am here to share with you this morning about an important archetype and what is for me a source of both deeper self-understanding and spiritual fortitude. I'm here to speak with you of my soft spot and indeed my enduring love for spunky girl heroines. For those not steeped in literature or psychology, an archetype is an enduring symbol or motif in literature, art, or mythology that over time becomes embedded in a culture's psyche. My take is that the spunky girl heroine is not just an archetype, but a feminist or womanist archetype. I think we must really need her. I can tell because she has been written over the course of centuries by authors of all genders, races, nationalities, and religious persuasions. Part of how you know whether or not you're looking at a spunky girl heroine is that she disrupts the patriarchal hero narrative by being fiercely, determinedly at the center of her own story, the protagonist. And I think we humans need her precisely because she is disruptive. Now, I think it's important to spell out here, this is not how I saw myself growing up. Consciously modeling myself on my father, I was peaceable, affable, manageable, passive. I curled myself around other people's stories, seeing myself in the supporting role. But my mother was a first grade teacher who read to me every night when I was little and encouraged my reading and carefully pointed me in the direction of books with girl protagonists. I loved the stories with boy protagonists too, and I crossed the gender line easily to identify with them, an important skill I still possess. But my mother, who before meeting my father left her abusive first husband with 2 kids, my older brother and sister in tow, she was keen to have me learn stories about girls who dared, girls who had adventures, who weren't all sugar and spice. She wanted me to understand agency and desire and grit in girls as normal and healthy. And she wanted me to build up some resistance to a culture that she knew from experience would tell me otherwise. She wanted to make sure that, should I ever find myself in a situation with someone who didn't have my best interests at heart, I'd feel able to go as she had. And in a million other ways, to learn to be fiercely, authentically at the center of my own story. 2 admirable qualities my mother had in abundance were that she was authentic and that she was fierce. So, Jo March of Little Women, Anne Shirley of Green Gables, Dorothy Gale from The Wizard of Oz, Fern Avery of Charlotte's Web, Laura Ingalls, Scout Finch, Pippi Longstocking, Ramona Quimby, these and many other spunky girls were the steadfast companions of my childhood world, and I read their stories again and again. Important to note, some spunky girl heroines took longer to get to me. Celie of The Color Purple came to me in high school. In college, I met Janie Crawford of Their Eyes Were Watching God, and Esperanza Cordera of The House on Mango Street, and Taylor Greer of The Mean Trees. Sula Peace and Yola Leroy reached me in graduate school. Allison of Fun Home came to me as a young professor. So many real-life spunky authors have been denied the pen and the page in so many ways. Denied an education or publication, or banned from the library, or barred from our classrooms, or simply, tragically, unencouraged and undiscovered. From where we sit here in midsummer of 2025, it's important that we understand and acknowledge this. Still, many of their heroines were written down and survived and made their way to me. As the Indigo Girls say of Virginia Woolf, like a message in a bottle. In The Most Magnificent Thing, our story today by Ashley Spires, our girl protagonist reminds me in some ways of my mother. Now, my mom was no engineer. She was an educator, and the teaching of reading was truly her special gift. She taught hundreds of young people to read. As a first grade teacher, then, after she got her master's as a special educator. My gentle giant of a father was the scientist, a metallurgist who worked for Abbott. We'll come back to him later. But my mother was, like our girl protagonist in the story, an experimenter, a teacher, and as a parent, especially, she loved to try new things. And as with our protagonist, if things didn't go her way, my mother might show her temper, which could be explosive and frightening, but then it would blow over and she'd move past the point of frustration back into learning and reworking. She was a woman of many epiphanies, her own and those she drew out in the people around her. I don't think of myself as naturally at the core of me like my mother or like the girl protagonist in The Most Magnificent Thing. I grew up trying to stay small and hide out. I often stuck to the safe and the known in order to avoid the risk of censure. And I did for a time in my life, especially as an adult, tend toward perfectionism. As social science researcher Brené Brown has explained, perfectionism is a 20-pound shield. It may protect us from criticism as intended, but it also hides us, and it's exhausting to carry around all the time. When perfectionism is the driver, says Brown, shame is riding shotgun, and fear is the annoying backseat driver, especially fear of what people might think. It's hard to live an authentic life, experimenting, trying new things, and sometimes failing when you are anxious about what other people might think of you. This is a lesson that, in many ways, I've taken a lifetime to learn. My teachers helped me learn it, though. One arena where I showed spunk was in the classroom, confident in my good brain and good words. My students helped me learn it, too, later. I started teaching composition to college students 30 plus years ago, a graduate student myself. I learned pretty quickly that for all of us, the chief barrier to timely paper submissions was perfectionism, or what my therapist used to refer to as the 3 deadly Ps: perfectionism, procrastination, and panic. These bugaboos do not make for an authentic life or a timely essay. It really is as a teacher that I learned to live a little more like my mother and like the girl in this story, risking failure as I experimented. And this, I think, is one thing the world needs of me, of us. Folks in my circle of influence do not need another automaton gliding through the same old safe channels. They need to see real people engaged in authentic problem solving and map making. There is a significant gap between perfectionism and what Brené Brown calls healthy striving. If we would achieve excellence, we need to learn to risk failure. The protagonist in our story is clearly unafraid of failure. Her early models, attempted and abandoned one by one, are failures that are apparently to her just part of the process. She is also no automaton. Clearly, she has access to her own authentic emotion, including her anger, an emotion so frequently denied utterly to girls and women, as if we could disappear it by censure. If she has her bad moment, she also has a good friend in her furry assistant, sturdy enough to bear witness and help her through it. She is not seeking anyone's approval but her own. Only she will know when she has achieved her goal. This isn't up for debate. Other people in the story find that they like her cast-off work, but it isn't up to them to decide when her project is done. She will know, as she does at the end, when the project has achieved magnificence. I love the way the book is written, that the protagonist, assistant, and project are all unnamed, so that we only know the particulars of them through the illustration and the unfolding of the story. Our central character is every child, but especially every girl, as she is meant to represent and encourage qualities denied to all children in our patriarchal, white supremacist, perfectionist culture, but especially denied to girls and women who are especially expected to look perfect to others. Important, if you cannot bear the uncertainties of experimentation, it's hard to be a scientist. In order to achieve excellence through creative, authentic striving, we must be willing to bear the possibility, nay, the near certainty of failure. This story, The Most Magnificent Thing, came back to me recently as I was reading another book by real-life spunky girl heroine Abby Wambach. Perhaps you've heard of Wambach. She is retired from soccer, a decorated Olympian, champion, and co-captain of the United States women's soccer team. Since retirement, she has become a worldwide public figure as a speaker, author, and co-host of a podcast followed by millions, We Can Do Hard Things. The book of Wambach's that I've been reading and rereading that you heard Ellen read from earlier is titled Wolfpack: How to Come Together, Unleash Our Power, and Change the Game. The book is brief and really takes the form of a checklist. In this way, it reminds me of another book I've been reading lately, Tim Snyder's On Tyranny, which I also recommend for UUs in these times. Wambach's Wolfpack is just 8 brief chapters, each of which articulates a single principle for readers wishing to emulate her spunkiness and embrace it for themselves. 1, you are always the wolf. 2, be grateful and ambitious. 3, lead from the bench. 4, make failure your fuel. 5, champion each other. 6, demand the ball. 7, bring it all. And 8, find your pack. I made it through the audiobook for the first time over the course of a single morning of dusting my house. That should give you a sense of how accessible it is, or perhaps how dusty my house might be. Though my intention today is to lure you toward reading this book and trying on its principles, I have to take just a quick moment to offer one small quibble with Wambach's first chapter, You Were Always the Wolf. Whereas Wambach here talks about how girls are often disempowered by being treated like little redcap, admonished to stay on the path, stay away from smelling flowers, taught to fear the wolf. My take is that in many versions of the story, including Sondheim's Into the Woods, she earns her place as one of our spunky girl heroines by vanquishing the wolf and wearing its fur, a way to mark that she has embraced some of its qualities as her own. While Wambach here wishes aloud that she could empower her younger self by admonishing young Abby that she was never Red Riding Hood, that she was always the wolf, an empowering message to be sure, I actually think it's possible to be both. That for many of us, it is precisely in straying from the path that we learn that we are both spunky girl heroine and wolf. But setting all of that aside, Wambach leads here, as she does every chapter, with an old rule for women, followed by a new, better rule. In this case, old rule, stay on the path. New rule, make your own path. A couple more that I think matter a good deal for this time in which we find ourselves. I myself feel especially called by chapter 4, make failure your fuel. Wambach describes an experience of playing on the youth national team and getting to visit the locker room of the U.S. women's national team, where she remembers seeing a 5x7 photo taped above the door exiting to the training field, a picture of their longtime rival, the Norwegian national team, celebrating after their victory over the U.S. in the 1995 World Cup. Years later, when she asked her now national teammates about the photo, they explained that while they seek to win, when failure does come, they don't accept it as evidence that they aren't worthy of playing at the highest level, because they know the lessons from the last loss become the fuel for their next win. Indeed, after the photo went up in the locker room, the next year the team brought home their first Olympic gold. Wambach's take on women and failure is that women too often view failure as proof that they were always unworthy imposters, in large part because the culture insists that we must be perfect before we're worthy of even showing up. Moreover, her take on men strikes a chord just now. She says, imperfect men have been empowered to run the world since the beginning of time. So clearly, perfection is not a prerequisite for leadership. Says Wambach, it's time for imperfect women to give themselves permission to lead. And I would suggest time for all of us to give one another permission too. Old rule, failure means you're out of the game. New rule, failure means you're finally in the game. Then in chapter 8, Wambach talks about how after celebrating retirement and a brief break, she took up running again, expecting it to go easily for her as it always had. Instead, day after day, it was a painful slog. When she talked it over with her wife, Glennon said, "Babe, you've always had your pack before. Now you're a lone wolf." I noticed that, though our spunky girl heroine in The Most Magnificent Thing has a trusted assistant cheering her on, she is largely working on her own. This gives her a freedom, of course. At least she isn't inundated with unwanted advice or pressure to conform to what doesn't lead to her most magnificent thing. But also, our feet are heavier without our pack to cheer us, and what we create will lack what they might have contributed. So this morning, I am here to admonish all of us to find our pack. I know well that Countryside is a pretty great place to look for it. Whether it's the Soul Matters small group ministry or choir or the band or drumming or your social action ministries, you've really got it going on here. Or wherever you look, find your wolf pack. Don't be a lone wolf out there just now. Old rule, you're on your own. New rule, you're not alone. You've got your pack. Finally, for the men in the room today, thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone, of course, for making me feel very welcome. Heartfelt thanks to Ellen and Anderson and Lori and Leilani, who have been such a great pleasure to work with. Especially Leilani, I've always known you to be that spunky girl heroine. Thank you so much for bringing your voice today. But for the men in the room, especially, I'm glad you're here listening. And I want to bring us back for a moment to my peaceful, affable father. My dad was, doubtless like many of you, a sensitive UU guy. For most of his life, he managed to play the corporate game in a suit and tie, but he never let that stop him from accessing what he would have called his feminine side. And he'd have been the first to tell you, truly, he led seminars for men about this, what the cost of traditional masculinity is to men as well as women, in terms of creativity, self-expression, and just outright aliveness. I saw this idea illustrated in reverse at one of the workshops I led in my early adulthood about creativity and the inner child. A male participant over the course of our days together discovered that he had a spunky girl heroine inside him, and it freed him up like you would not believe. Though he kept his day job until retirement, from that moment on, his creativity swung wide open. He became a painter, a writer, a ceramicist. I won't try to say how it is for you, but for all of us, every one of us, maybe we could afford to be a little less binary in our gender and see where it might take us. Maybe, just maybe, there is a spunky girl heroine within us all whom we could all embrace and empower. And maybe then we could empower one another's too. For there is so much more that we can do together than any one of us can do alone. To return to our storybook of the morning, the most magnificent thing is, as it turns out, a dog-sized scooter sidecar, something I would never have dreamed up in my childhood. I love our girl heroine for her spunk, of course. I also love her authenticity, her vulnerability, her willingness to fail, her determination to persist. These are qualities that, thanks to my mother and her spunky girl heroines, through patience and determination, I have developed in myself over time. Really, what I want is for all of us to help our spunky girl heroine in the storybook, in real life, and everywhere to find her wolf pack, especially within our UU congregations. May we learn to disrupt the patriarchal narratives, be real with one another, embrace one another's gifts and vulnerabilities, and strive authentically in an environment safe for learning and failure toward excellence, equity, and justice in our congregation, our community, and our world. May it be so. May we work together to make it so. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, not the warmth of community, not the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now is the moment to find our packs and raise our spunky voices in concert. Great Spirit of love, help us to learn, to try and fail and try again, and to be our own beautiful, authentic selves along the way. May we make our own path in these crazy woods and build a new way of being in the world. May we learn to shape our stories with skill and clarity of purpose, and may we find ourselves at the center of our own stories and embrace the spunk in ourselves and one another. Salam and shalom, ashe and amen. Blessed be.